It's Thanksgiving again, and one of the many things we're thankful for is farmers that provide us with food and sustenance, especially our Florida dairy farmers. From mashed potatoes to mac and cheese to pumpkin pie, milk, cream, butter, or cheese makes all your Thanksgiving recipes better. Thankfully, incorporating dairy in your family's favorites is easy. Just visit floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com for easy and delicious recipes. Happy Thanksgiving from your Florida dairy farmers, and pero let me tell you. The holidays are here, and it's time for all of our favorite Cuban traditions. Lechon en la caja china, crema de vie, all the flan. And this holiday season, make Kawi Lemon Lime part of your celebration. For 75 years, this refreshingly crisp soda has used the same exact formula since its creation in Cuba. O sea, you can't get more Cuban tradition than Kawi Lemon Lime. Así que, this holiday season, make sure to include the authentically Cuban taste of Kawi Lemon Lime in all of your fiestas navideñas. Find Kawi Lemon Lime in stores now. This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of Pero Let Me Tell You. Mi gente, so you have just tuned into what is going to be DJ's personal Christmas, because on today's episode we have someone with us who is, he's a historian, he's a pop culturist, he's a collector of memories of all South Florida, really. Miami specifically, but I'll venture to say South Florida to broaden the scope a little bit. Now, his birth name is Abel Sanchez, but y'all probably know him on Instagram better as Miami Stadium. So thank you so much for joining us today, man. We're really chomping
I'm very
at the
excited.
bit. Yeah.
Just to let
He's
you know
vibrating.
that a lot of times I, due to my busy work schedule,
Yeah.
I don't make it a lot of times to the interviews. But I was like, not only are we doing the interview with Abel, I'm going to be part of it, but it's going to be at my house.
This is great. I don't do many, but real recognizes real. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't actually just have us time travel to do this interview in the Miami Arena.
Well,
he's looking into it.
Listen, if I could travel back to be part of any arena, I don't know if I'll go back to the Miami Arena, but
we gotta keep it local.
before we get into you, I want to say how I got into you.
Yes.
Because I think that's a good platform to start off, because
Definitely.
I feel that probably a lot of people come across your page maybe how I did. So I'm a really big fan of ballparks. You see there's a book there. I have a ton of books downstairs on ballparks. My goal is to go to all 30 of them. I've been to 25 of them.
Me too. Oh, you're way ahead of me. That's awesome.
Oh, so you're getting there.
I'm getting there.
So you're getting there. So I've always loved ballparks. And as a kid growing up in Miami in the 80s, we didn't have a ballpark. And the closest thing we had to a ballpark, I still call it Bobby Maduro Stadium. And I remember when we would drive off I-95, I would always tell my dad, go slow, because you could see it off of I-95.
You could.
So when I came across your page, because, a lot of times you as a kid, or even as a teenager, and especially before social media, you have certain interests, but you don't realize that everybody has, a lot of people have those interests. So when I came across your page, I was like, oh my God, there's a whole page dedicated to Miami Stadium. And this is freaking amazing. So I just wanted to tell you on my end how I came across it, and
That's cool.
how for me it meant so much.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, there's so many people who are into this as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
So tell our listeners, how did this start? How did this little page that could start?
Bro, I'm still amazed even 50 people follow. I say that all the time, but I'm so in my lane, I focus. I think subconsciously I created the page that I wanted to see that didn't exist. There's influences I have a buddy named Kirk Schweizer, who's an old Miami Stadium guy as well. And he has a little small Facebook page, very private. I think it's called the Original Marlins in Miami. And I would drop content there, but I started getting more into Instagram. And Instagram was like a blank canvas, going back 10 years, 8 years. And I'm looking for Miami Stadium stuff. I'm not finding it. I'm looking for Florida Marlins. I'm not really finding it. all this other stuff. And I started with Miami Stadium. I saw the handle was available. And the rest, as they say.
The handle to Miami Stadium was
I couldn't believe
available.
it.
Yeah.
I checked. And
How long ago did you start the page?
2016. It's been 7 years already.
So when you first started, it was, because obviously now it's like I feel it's a curated visual history of old Miami. But when you started, it was, and I remember it was predominantly about Miami Stadium.
Miami Stadium is, I always say, is the foundation and the heart and soul. I got lucky in that the handle kind of applies to everything. If you think about it, Miami Stadium, Miami Arena, Miami Orange Bowl, Marine Stadium. So I got lucky in that regard. But it did start, and the heart and soul of it is always that stadium.
And when you started the page originally, how did you start curating the content, the pictures? Because as you said, it's not like there were tons of pictures of Miami Stadium laying around.
No.
On Google Images.
At all, man. It was like I had my little vault because I've just always been a curious person. And when the internet came, I was just gathering. So I realized I have like this virtual vault of information and content. So I said, well, let me start dropping some photos and see what happens. And organically it became, well, let me do a little Orange Bowl, maybe a little Florida Marlins.
So you just kind of gave yourself permission to expand a little here and there.
Exactly. Literally not knowing what the hell I was doing. I still don't really I just have an idea kind of, what I wanted to put out there and go with the flow. And then people be like, oh, why don't you do this? Oh yeah, why don't you post that? Why not? There's no rules to this, bro. I'm like, I'm the king of this page. I could do whatever I want. And that's how it eventually organically evolved into this. I always say it's where history and culture collide.
Absolutely. And in those early days, were you getting like this? I don't remember, although I've been following you for a while. This I don't remember. I don't remember if it was like an instant hit or if it was like a, slow hit that a few people here and there, and it started catching on. Because I wonder, even like in those early days, like it's not like people were looking for this page.
Oh, at all. I mean, it was amazing how it was just like you say, it's little by little. And I always say I don't play the numbers game. I think that's frustrating. I appreciate anyone who follows or likes. So I don't get caught up in that. So if I had still 1,000 followers, the page would look the same. Right. It would look exactly how it is. So it was like a good brisket, low and slow, 250. Yeah, tú sabes, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then let it sit. And it's just like boom, boom. Then you wake up one day and you're staring at 16,000 legit followers with everything from pro athletes to, Oliver Stone follows me, which I can't comprehend.
I didn't even know he was on Instagram.
Yes. So you're like, wait, what? So you never know who's watching. Just if you're lucky to find your lane and let it go.
You gave people something they didn't know they needed.
Apparently, I didn't know I needed. We didn't know. Yeah.
And well, I mean, for those listeners out there who are listening to this conversation about Miami, I was joking with Abel before we started recording. I'm like, listen, this interview is going to be, and everybody's welcome to listen to. I hope
people
do.
People like to hear about history.
They could learn about Miami. But if you don't know about Miami, if you're not from Miami, you don't have a connection, maybe it'll be a little bit harder to follow. Because a lot of times we try to do content that everybody is going to enjoy. But I was telling him, I'm like, today I'm going full on with this. I'm going to get onto like the nitty gritty Miami.
Today is all about Sahuesera.
Yeah. So, but for those people who maybe don't know or don't remember, tell us exactly what was Miami Stadium and the significance of it.
Miami Stadium, I always say, is the most historic ballpark we ever had. My research, I found over 150 Hall of Famers step foot in there. And to put that in perspective, there's only about 340 some in the Hall of Fame total. So that's almost half. From Jackie Robinson to Ricky Henderson. It's crazy. It was a game changer as far as an architectural gem. The cantilevered roof, unobstructed views, palm trees in the outfield. I mean, you could really feel the game there. The way it was built by a gentleman who came over from Cuba, Alemán, with funds that he stashed away, which is how much more Miami can you get than that? I know his grandson, by the way, he's still here. Really? JB is a fellow Columbus grad. So you have all these fascinating aspects and just all came together to make a very unique kind of place and story that we'll never see again.
And what year was it opened?
August 31st of 49.
49.
Yeah.
And it was predominantly spring training.
Yeah.
I actually don't know. Was there ever any intention to make it a minor league stadium?
Oh, actually, minor league, the Marlins were born there.
Okay.
Later, they came in 56. The original Miami Marlins,
yeah,
with Satchel Paige and all that, was there. And then that became like the Miami Orioles and another version of the Marlins. So you had some minor league, some major league. They actually intended it to be expanded to 25,000 people because they had major league in view. Right. They were a little ahead of their time. But they were a little, but they were already shooting for that.
Right. You know, I find that a lot of these spring training facilities and even minor league parks are phenomenal. And phenomenal. I go a lot to the one in Lakeland for the Detroit Tigers.
Tiger Town.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
That place is great. And so that's why, like, I feel that a lot of these smaller ballparks are more of what it really should be because they don't need all the bells and whistles to pay the mortgage. Like
100%.
You know, like the other ones. So you really go to watch a game. You don't go to ride a roller coaster or a Ferris wheel.
They're like complexes. They are literally spring training complexes. Back Miami Stadium had the one stadium, the field, and then the little infield in the corner, kind of in the cut. And that's where the Orioles and the Dodgers back in the day would practice. So it was very limited compared to now. It's like they have the main stadium and like 8 practice fields and a slew of batting cages and all that good stuff.
And what was the last game played there?
I was there. It was my senior year at Columbus. I was a bat boy for the Orioles. I used to sneak in.
Wow.
So I ended up doing a few games a year. It was April 5th, 1990. Orioles and Braves was the last official spring training game there.
I remember I told you about I-95.
Yeah.
I remember driving by there when it was being demolished.
Oh, yeah.
It hurt.
It hurt, bro. Quite a few of us went unbeknownst to one another. Yeah. And even the old pitcher, Dennis Martinez, el presidente. I know Dennis, and he's like, he went. He for 20 minutes to kind of, you know.
And it was like a slow death because it wasn't like an implosion. It was like
the most brutal demolition in the history of. I went right before they started. And when the growth on the field, the big grass, it looked like I Am Legend. And then, and I swear to God, I'm like, am I Will Smith? Like, what was going on? It was like, and then when they started it, it was chunk by chunk, and there was no thought into it. And it was an ugly.
When was it
teardown.
demolished?
Summer of 2001.
Okay, so I mean, recent.
Yeah.
I mean, in the grand
2020,
scheme, yeah.
In the grand scheme, yeah. Not that long. Yeah.
Do you know if anything was preserved?
No, I don't know. Preserved by the people who went in and stole it.
Yeah, okay.
Like me, which I think
so
20
you and
years.
Burger Beast. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
That would have been a great marquee to...
Oh my God. My buddy Kurt has one of the letter I's. I swear to God, my boy has one of the I's from the Miami Stadium facade, dude, the neon one.
I always ask about the signage because I think it's so iconic. That's why we were talking about the Miami Arena sign. I remember when Lone Depot Stadium, Marlins Park, was being built, I was fortunate enough to purchase season tickets the first year.
Me too.
So you got all the nice perks that they give you a tour of the
bells and whistles and the tour
of the facility of the construction zone.
I feel like you two are separated at birth. I don't know. like the more this conversation goes, I'm just like,
we told you.
Are you guys going to take out like half of a medallion each and just put it together? Yeah,
the Parent Trap.
Seriously,
if one of us had a British accent, then we really on. And I remember when they were showing us the construction site and all that they were like, oh, and the we're gonna have the letters of the Orange Bowl, like everything fell. And then when the stadium opened, I was like, those are not the actual. I was like, those are not.
They're not.
No, they're replicas.
No, they're replica.
So where are the original?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know who might know? My guy Rolando Llanes of Civica. He did the documentary at Miami Stadium. He did the parking garages at Marlins Park. He saved the 3 old Dodson murals that hung on the west end that are on the garage.
Which I always look at those and I go, thank God they saved them.
That was Rolando. Yeah. Thank him, because if not, that probably would be in the scrap. So that's a great question. I could ask him to see if those letters were stored or just...
Were you at the last stand? Orange Bowl?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, see, we were both there. I photographed even the bathrooms.
That's the best part.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
I've never seen two people so alike in my life.
Yo, yeah, you should see his face.
Wow, this is like it's a little creepy.
Because the Orange Bowl, so they did an Orange Bowl last stand where they opened it to the public, and they had a lot of like the 72 Dolphins and a lot of people there to celebrate the Orange Bowl when it was about to be demolished. So obviously,
well, I mean, if ever you were going to be at a place,
we had to be there. And I was like, today is my day. And I photographed even like the beams. Like,
talk about an old structure with a lot of history that rattled and shook, right? Like that place had so much sauce, man. It's incredible.
Were you there at the brawl? The FIU
Yes.
brawl? You went brawl?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, claro.
Stop it,
Claro.
both of you. You were
course.
literally at all
We
the same
did it
events.
like all the same events.
Yeah, seriously.
You know
Like,
what? You know what I love that you at some point in your page you posted, because not a lot of people know this, were the proposed renovations plans for the Orange Bowl.
Oh yeah, the
And,
rendering,
like,
the
it was in
sketch.
the mid '80s, right?
Mid 80s. Yeah,
It looked pretty good.
It looked pretty good. It was never going to be, quite, because obviously they had to upgrade and tweak, but it would still be the Orange Bowl. It'd still be there on 17th, and that fell through.
Okay, I feel I need to back off so you could ask a question.
No. By all means, I'm just sitting in awe, and I'm just like, wow, where is it? You're gonna start finishing each other's sentences. What do you thought? But no, one of the things that actually it kind of strikes me as we're chatting about this, it's like all this, these buildings that were so iconic and such a part of Miami's history get knocked down. The signage disappears. This disappears. Like it doesn't get saved, and so often we do see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we see that. I mean, let's talk about Miami. Miami is a very like eso viejo bota and keep going forward. We're very much that city, but your page, in and of itself, almost seems like an answer to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like you've said we throw too many things away, and we need to kind of just appreciate and love where we came from. How did you come to that point? Because I know you said, like, well, I'm going to start with Miami Stadium, and then you kind of started expanding. But did you ever at any point say to yourself, somebody has to save this history? Somebody has to put this history out there, because now we've got all this social media. Let's use it for good, so to speak.
Yeah, I feel that way now more in retrospect. It was never like I'd be lying.
Were you like a historian growing up?
Yeah,
were you always into history?
Curious. My favorite classes were history at Columbus. I'm still tight with Carter Burris, Dr. Burris, and John Linsky. Coach Linsky are two of my favorite teachers, history teachers. Go figure. So yeah, shocker. So that was always something that I was into, and then this just seemed like. Someone once said, "You do a lot of research for the page." I go, "Yeah, but the page is the outlet. A lot of that research is a lifetime's worth of stuff that I'm like, oh, people might like. Oh, you like this? Oh, here you go. Toma."
I have somewhere to put it now.
I've actually thought about your question a lot with people like you in terms of like that you're curating this. I think what happens is that people our age, that are like late 30s, 40s, even 50s, we grew up in between time, right? We grew up in the 80s, which was still, I think, I call it the analog years.
Yes.
Right. But
accurate.
we were young enough to be part of the digital and the internet age.
We caught them both.
We caught the end of one,
Yes.
and we were young enough to fully embrace the other. So we are children of technology, of the internet as well.
We're bitextual.
There you go. That's a great term.
So here we go, new term. And I think that people in our age group, because we remember that, I think we have a different appreciation for it, because we were able to see the shift and the change within a very short amount of time. Right? That we went from analog to digital, and all these things that vanished before our eyes very quickly. We saw it vanish, and now we feel, which I think that's exactly what you're doing, a way to honor it, and to honor it, to remind people, to show people, to people to learn, because your page, it's an Instagram page, it's fun and all that, but you scroll through it and you start reading your captions, and you could learn some real things.
There's
Thank you.
meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, for
Yeah.
sure. I would never, I'm not going to serve you something. I'm amazed how many people say that. That's when I really start realizing when they're like, oh, you posted, and I'm like, man, people are reading this shit. Like, they're not just, and a lot of that is just straight off the dome. I'm not sitting there editing things. It just kind of comes out that way with a little touch of Spanglish or whatever. A little
it is
Ya Tu
Miami.
Sabe goes a long way. And that's just enough where I'm like, folks are really reading. So it's cool that you can kind of entertain and educate.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And because I am also a history buff, as you've probably heard, I go to your page and I learn. There's things that I didn't know that I'm like, oh shit, I never realized.
And he's a fountain of just
for him
information
to say that,
sitting there. Yeah,
that's a win because I'm amazed how many people come up like, yo,
I'm the Yame when it comes to history,
Oh, see.
but he knows stuff. Like, yeah.
So,
But another thing that I wanted to kind of bring up is, what I love about your page is obviously it's the history and the context with which you place everything. But I always find it fascinating that we live in a city, to kind of tie it all together, that is so quick to be like, well, that's old, throw it away. But yet we are a city that comes from other countries. And you would think that we would want to hold on to the memories, knowing what it is to leave a country and have to leave that behind. And it never ceases to amaze me how that oxymoron just continues to exist, of like longing for what I never had and we had to leave behind, but yet here it's like bótalo, eso ya no sirve.
No,
like
claro.
there's no me acabe de, I can't put
because
my
it
head
doesn't
around
make
it.
sense. In a lot of ways, what he alluded to earlier is in a way, our history is getting rid of our history. That's kind of our history. And look, I'm all for progress, and some things run their course, and I get it. Like for being a historian, all that, I'm very much present in 2023.
We can't live in the past.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But
it's a balance.
It's a balance because that old saying, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going.
One of our favorite sayings on this show.
Yeah, and it's like, at some point we're going to resemble one giant strip mall where it's a blur of CVS, Starbucks, and Chase Bank. And nothing against those nice folks, but it's
They
like...
don't sponsor us, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. So yeah, we're not losing any dollars.
Right.
So it's like, you got to keep... Like, how about we keep some of this stuff so you kind of can pass it on?
Even if it's just a facade. Like, put the CVS inside, but keep the facade.
Keep the facade, which at least with the stadium would have been cool. They've done that in other cities. But you see, that makes sense.
Well, we don't like to make sense
Yeah,
in South Florida.
exactly. We usually go the other way.
In other cities, and this is where I think Miami sort of fails, because there's not a lot of people like you. There's not a lot of people like us, I think, in the collective. In a lot of cities, there's outcries when certain things are going to be demolished or redeveloped.
For sure.
And here, it's like, whatever, another high-rise condo.
Yeah,
that nobody can afford.
With an
condition.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, look, I'm not a Russian oligarch. I can't afford that. God bless them if they can. I don't, hey, if you could drop 40 mil for a condo, dale.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish,
right?
Yeah.
Like, yo, you're living life. But the rest of us, the other 99%, like, all right, come on.
But I think also that, people always say, oh, because Miami doesn't have the history of like a New York.
Right.
Or
And it never
like
will.
some places like the Midwest,
exactly.
like Detroit, Chicago, that have such a rich history. But you have to start somewhere. And you know what? Maybe we don't have the history that New York City has, but we do have history because from the immigrations of Bahamians before anybody else, because they were really the first ones here.
Let's, a lot of people don't even know that. It surprises me. Go look at the houses in the Grove. They look like the Key West houses.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah.
Bahamian flavor, dude.
And actually, the other day, I don't know if it was the other day that you posted, but you have posted about the wall.
Oh yeah, I just shot that the other day.
The wall in Coconut Grove that everybody just thinks it's a very it's just a wall they built and
in someone's backyard. It's like,
they think it's a fence, but tell us about the
Tell us about the wall.
man.
Remember, we got listeners all over. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's one of the things my page reflects too. I always say my page is for everybody. I go across the board from, what they call lovingly Florida shitty to Aventura to Overtown, Gables, and all points in between. That wall, the redlining thing, all that was real. The segregation walls, as they call that. And it was real. And I've shot the one at Liberty Square, the pork and beans, and that one in the Grove is still there. And most people drive by, and if you even notice it, it looks like it's just a wall in someone's backyard, and they have no idea why that was built.
history of that wall.
Yeah.
That it was separated one area over the other. And that's why I say we have history here.
Yeah, we do.
But if you don't do anything about it, like right now, I mean, I'm sure you've heard everything that's going down or has tried to go down with the Coconut Grove Theater.
Oh,
Where
man.
are we with that, by the way?
But to Miami's defense, there are a lot of people trying to save it.
That's
yeah,
the one.
especially the Grovites, as I like to call them. I went to St. Hugh Elementary right around the corner. So that
is right around the corner.
That is literally right there. So that was childhood for me, man. And I don't know what is going to happen. It's up, it's down.
It's been a while
It's been
now
a while.
that they've been patray pa'lante.
Claro.
The last thing I heard, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they proposed that they're going to save the facade, but they want to build a smaller theater and they want to build housing. So you know what the housing part means.
Right.
Of
course.
We all know what that means. And they always go under the guise of, oh, there's going to be affordable housing. Well, there's maybe 1 or 2 apartments
Yeah, as
that
long
are
as you
going
do
to be subsidized.
Yeah. Own efficiency, and thank you.
But
Yeah, it's like define affordable.
define affordable.
Because your definition of affordable might
Yeah.
not be the rest of our
And
definition.
then, my whole thing about the whole thing with the Coconut Grove Theater is that the facade should be saved, but
Absolutely.
the action went inside in that stage. Like
A lot of legendary actors in history in that place, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, that is an example of something that has the potential of being, it is a landmark, and it's on.
But we have to treat it as such.
It could be torn down.
That's what it comes down to. Is we have these landmarks, and again, I don't know if a part of it is apathy or if it is we are a quote unquote new city. And when I mean a new city is that, for better or worse, Miami is predominantly always been migratory, i.e. there's always a new influx of
transient, like they
from
call
other
it, yeah.
countries.
Yes.
So it's not even, people coming from one state to the other. I don't know if that affects the fact because there's no attachment to the history in that sense.
Yeah,
So
folks come in here and they don't have,
they don't connect in that way. I mean, I don't know, but it's just I don't understand it.
Yeah, I would think it definitely can't help. And it's not their fault either. But yeah, they come in here and they don't know what the Grove, Playhouse means to anyone. Yeah.
So, Abel, what do you call the facility where the Dolphins play?
Joe Robbie Stadium.
Always.
Always.
Always
No.
and forever.
Thank you.
Viejo Robbie.
Thank you. To this day.
To this day.
It also doesn't help that there's been 75 other names, but
Yeah.
but it's just Joe Robbie. Just
I
call
will
it
Joe
give
Robbie,
credit
bro.
to Hard Rock that Hard Rock did. Like this, it's a different incarnation, right?
Yes.
They rebuilt a part of it, so it feels different when you go
Yeah,
there.
they did
but
a
all
nice
the
job.
other ones, like remember when it was Sun Life Land Shark Stadium?
Land
Like,
Shark.
Sun Life, Landshark, Pro Player, Calzoncillo Stadium.
No,
I don't even know what it was. bro.
My favorite was when they did a legal name change from Dolphin Stadium to Dolphins Stadium,
yes.
or vice versa,
Or something like that.
Well, the plural, it matters.
Right,
Yeah,
but when
yes.
you look at all the
matters.
legal names of the stadium,
It's there.
It's there.
It's
just
there.
like it was Pro Player Park, but then it was Pro Player Stadium because
Right.
they didn't want it to be PPP.
Yes.
It's true. Nobody wanted that loan.
No.
No.
I still call it Joe Robbie Stadium.
Yeah, those of us who do. Yeah.
That's like I'm sorry, but it's the Miami. The Miami Airlines Arena, the
American Airlines
Yeah,
Arena.
yeah.
Listen, what is it? Casilla? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it called now?
I don't even, because Casella, I think it is.
Eso
Casella.
mismo. Sí, ese. Quesadilla. Yes.
Quesadilla,
Yes.
eso
Yeah,
mismo.
exactly.
For that split second, we were.
With the Fatux Arena.
I have to say that as someone who, goes to all these ballparks and all that, that's something that really annoys me.
Yeah.
Is the corporate name, and then
I know.
there's some corporate names because, for example, this would be great for you, so since you don't know about this stuff as much, where the Cincinnati Reds play, it's called the Great American Ballpark.
Yes.
So
Okay,
people
well,
are
that's
like,
pretty, right?
People are like, oh, it's
Right.
very pretty that they named
Right.
it the Great American Ballpark. I'm like, it is, but Great American is an insurance company,
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
It's
So
like,
you're
it could have very easily have been Geico Ballpark.
Right. And I think one of the worst ones now is in Chicago where the White Sox play, Guaranteed Rate Stadium.
Yes. My old boy from Columbus High, Pedro Grifol, Cuban American, is the manager of the White Sox. And I'm like, oh, yeah, what a name. You got to love a Cuban American manager in a, guaranteed rate stadium because nothing says baseball like insurance, right?
Yeah. No, some of these names, I don't know if you remember some years back, Candlestick Park
Yes.
was Monster Field.
Was Monster Field.
Okay, but at least that one's like kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like if you don't think of it in terms of the energy drink, it's better than
Well,
guaranteed
actually,
rate.
You know what
Right,
happened?
yeah, no.
You know
Anything
what happened
beats
with,
guaranteed.
It was
like-
either Monster Field or Monster Park. And what happened actually,
again, it's still kinda
that actually
cool, right?
led to legal precedent because when they changed it, a lot of the sportscasters refused to call it Monster
Oh.
Field. So
Monster paid money for this.
right,
Yeah.
so then they had to start calling it.
Yeah, what calling it its name? Yes.
Yeah, it's tough because it's still the American Airlines Arena, still Joe Robbie, it's still Marlins Park to 99%.
Yeah. Well, okay, I mean Marlins Park. It was Marlins Park for so long.
Claro, for so
And you
long.
know, do you know our whole thing with Hoopinha?
I've heard things like
About the whole thing with the Hoopinha. So, it's sometimes like the way things happen is crazy.
We predict
So-
future that doesn't matter.
Okay, so
Interesting.
go back in time to when FTX went bankrupt. Okay, the week before, and this is in our podcast archive, so people can go and check it. The week before, we were talking on the podcast, but in terms of Marlins Park, because Marlins Park hadn't had Lone Depot hadn't
They didn't have a sponsor yet.
get the naming rights yet. I was saying, I'm like, it should be called Hoopinha Ballpark. Like,
bro, how awesome would that have been?
Hoopinha Ballpark. And we had a whole conversation about this. So then, literally,
Like the week the episode went live.
our episode went live on Friday. I think on Tuesday, they announced what happened with FTX. So I'm like, okay. So I got a
Now we're
picture.
never kids.
I got a picture of the American Airlines Arena, and I put the Hoopinha Piña on the roof.
Oh my god!
And it went viral.
Oh, I remember seeing that.
It went viral.
God, yes.
And
That was this gentleman right
That
here.
was this
eventually Hoopinha saw it, and we did a whole thing together. That's why earlier this
and
year
now we have a relationship with Hoopinha.
we did the whole
awesome.
Laverne and Shirley. We did like the whole Laverne and Shirley intro,
Oh,
but at the
no.
Hoopinha factory.
Oh, was it Kauai?
Kawi.
Kawi.
Yes.
Kawi in Alabata.
So we did the whole thing.
Wow, man.
In that, and it went viral. And I have to say that a few days later, a lot of people jumped in, and it was like Flanagan's Park.
Oh, for sure.
Palacio de Who Arena, and they were hilarious. But we were the first because I literally saw when it was in the morning. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and the news had just broken. Like 5 minutes before, and I'm
Jesus.
like, we're jumping on this right away.
It's timing. It's timing.
That's brilliant. You can never go wrong with Hoopinha.
But
Hell no.
But what I think what happens a lot of times with these name sponsor naming rights is that Lone Depot, it's such a disconnect. Like who
100%.
Kaseya Center. I mean,
Yeah, none of that's pulling at the heartstrings, bro.
No.
Like,
At all.
again, God bless them. It's their right, and they did it, and I get it. But
and,
yeah,
and
no.
it helps the company, it helps the team and
Exactly.
the organization or anything.
so as a
Exactly.
historian, are you worried? Are you concerned? Are you annoyed? Do you think it's going to be okay of this influx of other people coming into the U.S.? And when I mean other people, I don't mean immigrants from other countries. I mean New Yorkers, people from up north that are coming down here and kind of,
Yeah, I'll say this much. I feel for anybody who's graduating school right now or anyone coming in that's young, because it seems like everything's going up, while wages and everything stays kind of, and you get these folks coming in, and to them, I think our cost of living and everything down here is a lot less than where they're coming from. It was, yeah, exactly. Now it's home, but it's not. I always say it's not my Miami that I grew up in, but it's home. But you see the changes, and it's never going back.
But isn't that always the case to a degree? I mean, things evolve.
New York,
to your point,
it's not
the New York
exclusive
from
to us.
1980, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not go back to New York, and it's like, come on, when the old CBGBs is a Marc Jacobs.
Exactly.
Yeah, to Sabe, like, bro,
things are
this is
changing.
not some
Yeah.
changes, not exclusive to us. This is everywhere.
But I think that the difference now is that, Miami is a city that has been built with, on immigrants. Right?
Yes, 100%.
And, part of the
Antero cubano, esto era fango.
part of the immigrant experience is, planting your roots there. There's a part of assimilation, obviously, but there's a part culture that's why Miami was really such a cultural melting pot, because yes, it's predominantly Cuban, but really there's everything here.
There was no homogenization.
But the problem is that I feel now that what's coming, it's not culture. It's more classist. What's coming is a class structure, not people bringing their culture from their native, homeland. And I think that is the difference, because, there's parts of Miami now that are completely, it's not even that it's unreachable. It's not realistic for a lot of people in the population. And yes, there's always been areas like Bow Harbor, that has never been for the common person,
Yeah, it's more chichi, as we like to call it. Yeah.
But now more and more, there's more and more areas and more restaurants and more bars and more things that it's not for, okay, we're going to splurge a little bit and we're going to spend some money this weekend. It's for people that are wealthy and or very affluent. So, we are a city that has a large working class community, and
yeah, big time.
Well, I mean, we're all based on tourism.
That's the other thing.
So
exactly,
where are these waiters, bartenders, bouncers, dancers going to live?
That's the thing. When everything goes up, except for the wages, apparently.
Right.
And Miami's the land of the side hustle. Okay, you better, and side hustles, I should say, you better have 2 or 3 things, i.e.
That's right. You are on one of the side hustles of us two. So yes.
Yes. So it's like, it's what he alluded to is culture. I always say culture versus baller. Where what you're getting is a lot of ballers, and God bless, but then that comes here and it changes kind of the dynamic where, Miami just becoming, I think that's the question I hear from a lot of people. Are we just becoming a town for like these wealthy folks to come here and play? And what happens to the other 99% people who grew up here?
And how far does that go?
And how far does that go?
At what point does it either pendulum swing
where's
back?
The balance?
And that's always been the case for Miami to a certain extent, because even going back to the 20s, people used to come vacation down here.
But they used to play on Miami Beach.
Right.
And that's kind of where it began.
But that's always been part of the Miami history as to a certain extent. So that's always been there. But the problem is that now it's slowly becoming... I don't want to say the majority, because we're not there, but it's slowly eating away at culture and at neighborhoods. Because mira, Brickell Avenue is the the financial central business district of Miami, and it has been for quite some time. But when you go off Brickell Avenue, but still in the Brickell neighborhood, there were still these small, quaint little apartments and buildings and the elementary school that's there.
Yes.
A very quaint. That's all disappearing before our very eyes. I'm sure that school's not going to be there much longer.
Probably not.
And I don't know if you've seen it. It's an elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks like it's probably from the 1920s?
Probably, at least.
Yeah. And even that church at the end.
They've tried to grab that, I don't know how many times.
Really?
Yes, bro. Yes. Yeah. They're trying to build there because it's a prime spot.
Estáblese quien pueda.
Tienen una fantasía de un mixed use ahí, like going all the way
I
up.
love that. I love that. Everything now is mixed use.
Yeah.
Mixed use.
That's all the rage.
Mixed use means it's a super expensive apartment with a Chipotle on the bottom. Yeah.
Basically, that's all the rage.
Mixed use.
But in layman's terms, yes.
With sweet greens and a Peloton store.
Yes.
Exactly. Maybe a gym if you're lucky. I always say...
Pero un Equinox.
Yeah.
No, claro,
it's not a Planet Fitness.
No. Equinox. Okay. Equinox. Don't get it twisted. Yeah. Just like, I always say those...
Y cuidado que no sea el lifestyle ese que acaba de abrir.
Cuidado. You see that? I always say those pretty shiny buildings, they ain't for us.
Yeah.
God bless if you could do it, but you see what the trickle-down effect
Listen,
of that
the first gym I ever went to was Scandinavian.
Oh, remember that? I remember that, man. Oh, my God.
Him and Cher.
There you go.
That's como dices tú, that's old Miami shit.
There was one in the Miracle Center by where I grew up.
Oh, yeah.
In
Do you remember how awesome the Miracle Center was when it opened?
I thought it was fantastic.
The elevators...
Oh, that with the chirping birds and the jungle sounds and shit. Yes, bro. That was like epic. Yeah.
I saw the Rocketeer there.
Oh, I saw a lot of movies there. It's good theater.
That place was awesome. And then I remember, after it sort of failed, that they turned it to Paseos. Do you remember when it was Paseos?
Yes.
And I was like, oh, the mighty have fallen. But what was great, did you ever go to Paseos? Yeah. That it's supposed to be like a sort of street kind of Latin vibe, but there was still very much modern elements from the Miracle Center.
Yes. That's another one. It'll always be the Miracle Center.
Oh, for sure.
I go by there all the time. It's still it's still the Miracle Center.
For sure. What have you, in curating your page, what have you learned?
Oh, man. I mean, you don't even realize how much, like I said, content and stuff, and really how much stuff is gone.
Yeah.
That's when you look back and you're like, holy shit, bro. They just like wiped out so much stuff.
Yeah.
you know, and that's what, you know, obviously you get a few grays on your head, you get a few laps around the sun, and you look and you're like, wait, like, what are we leaving behind for the next gen?
And again, I think that our age has, you know, we're in that sweet spot.
Totally.
Because, like, I remember, so I had the, you know, when we were talking about buildings, I had the pleasure of living downtown for many years. It was a dream of mine to live in a high rise. And it's funny because where the high rise that I lived in, I remember there was a Howard Johnson's there.
Oh my God!
It's a one by the American Airlines arena.
Yes.
Remember it was a Howard Johnson's?
Yes, right
and
there.
I remember that we used to eat ice cream there.
Oh, 32 flavors or whatever it is, bro.
Because
Come on.
remember that the Hojos had a diner.
Yeah.
Yes, those are the best.
Yeah.
Patty melts and ice cream, whatever you want.
Do any of those even still exist? Those Hojo
I
diners?
think there
was one in New York for a longest
I
time.
think there's
I don't know if
a
it's still there.
handful left throughout the country.
Yeah.
But here there was one in US 1, and I think I could be very wrong, but I think it was where Shake Shack is now. But I could be wrong. Seth will probably...
Right around there across from
right.
UM. You're
Yeah.
close. Yeah, it had
Yeah.
to be like right there.
Seth is literally yelling at us right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
With the answer. Yeah.
You could hear him, yeah.
So let's talk about Seth for a moment.
Oh, my
Must
God.
we?
Since this is our Miami-centric episode. So, you know how we're geeking out and all this stuff. The only other person that I hadn't met in the last 10 years that was like this before you, this level of geek was Seth.
Oh, yeah, no, he is the godfather.
That I'm like, Seth, and he's like, no. Just the other day, I was talking about something about Miami here, and he texted me, I have points to tell you in which you're wrong. Right? But Seth knows his shit. Like,
Dude, Seth is, he is the godfather of the foodie thing. I say, for me, he's the godfather, period.
Yeah.
As much as it pains me to say that. Damn you, Seth.
I
I
know.
know.
Because of you, we now are all going to have to kiss a ring.
I know.
Oh,
we're
you know
definitely,
this.
we're all going to
It's
have
all
to
your fault.
go Don Corleone on this guy, but as much as it breaks my heart. But, this guy, people have no idea. What he puts out there is probably 10% of what he knows.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's a thing about him. Because since his brand is not history,
Right.
Like your brand is history, but his brand is not history. That's not, your first impression of him.
Exactly.
But then when you start talking to him, it's like, oh,
yeah.
I thought I knew stuff. Now I realize that I don't.
No, I told you I was coming home one night and he hit me up right around midnight. Like I said, we didn't hang up till 3 a.m.
Coño.
Marcela's like, I'm going to bed. You guys keep talking. Marcela
Pobrecita.
crashed. Y ahí estamos about everything from Miami culture, old clubs, music, movies, everything. And I'm like, yeah, you really are a beast, bro. Like he legit knows his shit.
It's funny. I was just gonna say, like, a lot of your pictures. I mean, you're in a lot of these pictures, and it just seems to me that you were at so many moments of Miami
It's crazy.
history.
I don't even know
whether
how.
it's pop cultural history, or like like there's pictures. What is it? Was it you had like some with Madonna or something? Like some picture of Madonna you posted the other day or something. I mean, it amazes me, and it's like, oh my god, you're like a much more intelligent like Forrest Gump. Like,
Yo, my friend Larry Shane, the photographer. Shout out to El
like
Shane.
how were you always like en todo? Is my question.
I don't know. He always refers to my Gump-like existence.
Okay, good.
And I go, oye, mi hermano, I don't know how, because I always say I'm the least VIP person in the VIP. Somehow, I think it comes down to a combination of le caigo bien a la gente, I no jodo pa nada, and I know how to keep my mouth shut. My page could look very different if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But then you pull me, hey, Miami Stadium, they pulled them out of the river el otro día. So I'm like, no. A me, so
no.
those
But-
three
but
things.
it's-
We've yet to report on a murder victim as a
Thank you.
past
But
guest. So that's
one of the one of the best things is that you post things because again, it's all about remembering as a kid things that you were curious about and all that, and you post things that maybe in black and white don't look like something important, but then it is. And I'll give you an example. You posted a few weeks ago or on August 26th. You posted a picture of the abandoned INS building.
Oh, yes.
Anybody walking by that will see like, oh, this is like this
An abandoned building.
An
It's
abandoned
abandoned
building.
building.
Right.
And the thing about that building is that in fact was the INS building. And if you in the 80s and 90s, if you became a citizen, that is where you went to take your test.
Correct.
Or I think ahí también juraban la bandera.
See?
And so for
Yeah.
me, that's so, and in my case is the same as many people. For so many people that like their parents or abuelos or all these people became a citizen in the 80s and 90s and went to this building that was like a terrible building.
But
like,
it's etched in their
you
head.
see those windows?
Yes.
Those windows were covered. They
Yes.
were all covered with this like ornamental.
Yeah, it was a
thing.
very cool building from the 60s when
Yeah.
it was born.
Oh, okay.
A-
En su día.
So
In
like,
Sevilla.
so now you see that and you're like, but it meant something because that's something that we have so many. So you post things that like mean a lot to be. Then again, somebody looks at that picture and they'll be like, oh, it's a building, whatever.
But you got to read the caption.
Yeah, exactly.
it
And
had-
then they're always like, I had no idea. I always put, you've passed it 1,000 times. And you didn't. People say, I drive by that shit all the time. I had no clue.
Another thing you posted around that time, where is it? I lost it here. You had a picture of what I think is one of the most forgotten, beautiful, I thought it was beautiful, places they built in the last 30, 40 years, and that was Bakery Center.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Bakery Center was beautiful. And that's another thing that lasted less than 10
It
years.
failed, bro.
Oh,
It lasted
yeah.
less than 10 years.
And it was beautiful. And
Yeah.
it was modern. I remember those murals they had on the side.
You remember that?
And the parallel bar. Like, I remember
Parallel
all
Bar,
that.
my God.
I mean, I didn't go to Parallel Bar, but I remember Parallel Bar.
I barely made it in there my teens, and it was interesting.
But I feel
Yeah.
that that's like, you know where Bakery Center is? It was where Sunset Place is now. That's something that came and went, and like a lot of people don't even remember it.
I know. The ones who do always, like, whenever I post anything like that, they light up because they remember. I say things like that kind of hits folks right in the feels.
When I was
you
in
know?
high school, my first job was at 1570 Madruga behind Swensens.
No way.
So I worked right by there.
Yeah.
And I remember when they shut it down. And it's one of those things that's like, if I only would have had a camera phone back then. Because I remember when it was being dismantled. I remember when they put the sign that said, AMC 20 will be back soon.
Right.
Which is AMC
And it came back with 4 more.
It came
Right.
back with 4 more.
I remember when they were knocking. It was bad. I remember, honestly, if you ever went this, ahí, that was at 57th, on the Tack Gardner's Market. Ahí estaba, which still is the first chicken kitchen.
Yes.
And it used to be called Star's Chicken.
It Stars Chicken.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Que por una completa for $5, they would give you a huge chop.
Oh yeah, it was like that thing was Olympic, bro. ¿Te acuerdas? For
Yeah,
$5.
For $5. Y ahora they have that little cup counting every piece of chicken.
Oh yeah, no, everything's very measured.
In
these
all
days.
fairness, as a co-owner, Bing Bang pollo está caro. So I can't blame them for that. I
Pero
can't
Star's
blame them for that.
Chicken, Star's Chicken.
Chicken, bro.
Te daban, you know the thing of the completa?
Yeah.
Like bursting at the
I remember.
seams.
Yeah.
For $5.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That I remember that's when I would have, because I worked there at 1570
Right.
Madruga.
You were the first person to ever talk about chicken kitchen.
Because I worked there, so we used to have it. I'm like, what is this exotic sauce? Like, why do I want to put it on there? You know, I was like 16 at the time. I didn't know about
Claro,
curry.
when
ni
you're
nada de
legit,
eso,
eso
you know.
es exótico, man. That's like, you know, that's big league when
It's
you're
exotic.
legit.
That's outside of Westchester.
Yes. Oh,
Talking about that area. And again, listeners, this is for my, people who know Miami history. We're geeking out. Swensens was a huge loss.
oh, dude, that is
I
Specs.
still mourn it.
They were right there. The original Specs.
Specs.
The originally a Swensens. Huge L.
They used to be, wasn't there a Peaches?
There was, but more.
In the U.S. further
More-
down.
oh,
Yeah.
okay,
At
okay,
one
okay.
point, it was Specs, Swensens, and CD Warehouse.
CD Warehouse.
Yes.
That's what I was
Oh my God, bro, that was the place you went, especially for UCDs. They had a slew of them, bro. Yes.
You came out with like 20 CDs for like, $30.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, seriously, like a stack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was Swensens was a huge blow.
Yeah, man.
A huge
Yeah,
blow.
it was good.
And
And I was there hasta el otro día. I mean,
Yeah.
I give credit the guy who opened up the restaurant after. His name is Dimitri. I know him. He had a restaurant at the building that I lived in.
Nice.
And did you ever go when it was called the One at Sunset?
Trying to think, I might have.
After obviously Swenson's closed, he tried to preserve the interior as much as possible.
and even some of the menu items, right?
I don't remember the menu items, but he tried to preserve the interior. Like the only thing he modernized were like the benches. But now it's an Italian restaurant, which I think he co-owns too, but I'm sure they altered the interior because there really is no other place like that in Miami.
No, that's definitely like a throwback style type thing that you don't see out there.
I always talk to, when Seth and I talk about it, that he's like, man, that mirror that had the Swensens logo on it.
Oh man, yeah.
They probably broke that
They
mirror.
probably broke. Yeah. I know Seth would love to have gotten his paws on that, man.
What are some of like, I guess, lost or forgotten or demolished places that you revere the most, that you miss the most? That
Man, I'll tell you right off the bat, obviously it's always Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
Always Miami Orange Bowl. I think it was the heart and soul of the city. I'm a big boxing fan, so to see the Fifth Street Gym go down on the beach with the history of that place, bro, and Ali and the Dundee brothers, like, oh my God. So right there, those two are like, yeah, irreplaceable.
You know what hurt a lot? The Miami Herald building.
Oh, another one. Top 5, maybe even top 3. That was a gem too.
And I think a lot of people
it looks like a warehouse
never went inside or saw the interior of that building.
I did.
I always tell people, if you didn't go in that building, y'all missed out because it was amazing.
It was the epitome of newsroom.
Yes.
Like when you I can't explain it other than to say it smelled like a newsroom.
It was palpable. Yeah.
Like you were like, I was like a kid and I was like, I have a deadline. Like you felt it, right? Like it just hit you.
It was the epitome of post-century. What is it? Mid-century modern. Mid-century modern.
Yes.
I have, when I was a little kid, I have the tacky family portraits from Sears.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was from the Sears there. Where
shit.
where the Arts Center is.
Really?
It was from that Sears. Because my parents, my parents have lived in the house they live in now. When they came from Cuba, they lived in Alapata adjacent for like a year and a half.
Okay.
And then they moved to the house they're in now. So they've been there 40-some years.
Cool.
So that was like, I guess, the closest Sears to us at that time.
Yeah, pretty much at that time.
And I remember being a kid, and again, it was abandoned, but the sign, the cursive Sears sign was still in the front. See, that's the thing. That's why like I enjoy talking to you so much, because I remember being a kid and like eating that, like being so observant, and I wonder if other kids were as observant as I was, but just so
you gotta be
observant
wired
at
that
those
way.
things.
I think you can't teach that.
I
bro.
didn't notice.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you kind of have to be.
That's like, I don't know how much you are into ships. I'm really into ships.
Yeah. Ships are cool.
Ocean liner there.
Nice.
I remember in the 80s going to the beach when you run by the port of Miami.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the ships that used to be there.
Barcos.
Yeah.
That was
the Song of America by Royal Caribbean, the Sun Viking by Royal Caribbean, the Burdines with the 2 X's. I remember the ship with the 2 X's, and it was a Burdines. Then I remember NCL, the Sunward, and like the Sunbird, or the sun, like they had in the hull like a sun. Like I remember as a kid driving by that, because we used to
It
go
was
to
a
the beach
big
lot.
deal.
He is evidence, by the way, that we don't only use 10% of our brain.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because
So
clearly there's more going on there.
When you were a kid and you would go to Miami Beach, El Puente.
Oye, claro. No, and then you would stop, and remember that was when the causeway, it literally just like fell off into the bay.
Yeah.
So you could pull your
you
car.
go fishing,
Yeah, tú parabas el carro y ahí los viejos pescando, and then you look at, mira los barcos and this and that, and you would stop there.
I remember my parents being like, "Ay, no cogió El Puente." It was ding,
No.
ding,
Oh
ding,
my God.
ding,
See,
ding.
yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Now, we've talked about memories. We've talked about things that people remember fondly. We've mentioned this on the show a couple of times. Seth himself has said that it is a pain in the ass to find artifacts.
Right.
Why is it so damn hard to find anything of Los Piratas?
Oye, that's a great question. Because I know Seth and we talked about it. He did the shirt for Los Pirata. I said, I have photos from my 12th birthday there with friends. Epic photo of me playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out or whatever it was. Punch-Out at the time.
Punch-Out, because Mike Tyson was on the NES.
Exactly. Yeah. Then it became that. It was Punch-Out. And I don't know why it came and went. And there's like precious little. Every now and then somebody has a photo of a coin or something.
Super
token.
grainy. Like
super.
It's like
yeah.
a copy of a copy of a copy.
It has to exist.
You would think,
because
right?
everybody had their birthday parties there.
How long was that around? I guess
it was like mid 80s to about probably early mid 90s. So I don't think it even
maybe
hit
10 years.
Yeah, if that.
But every kid had their birthday there,
right.
So VHS tapes galore
yes,
have to exist.
They have to exist.
Stuff in Los Pirata. You know, I mean, I don't see a lot of stuff, I guess, of Malibu either, of a Castillito.
No, but I feel like because Malibu, the Castillito, was around longer, there's more, comparatively speaking, there's more pictures of it, or there's even more memory of it.
But I feel also the Pirata was more branded. it had like a font.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
It did. It had a proper logo.
Yeah.
La Cotorra,
It was a business.
I
damn
know how
it.
we
It was
just
like-
call it Los Pirata, and it was actually not called
No,
Los Pirata.
it was called Pirates.
And
It's called
actually, I was
Pirates,
talking
yeah.
to Steph about that over the T-shirt
God.
that he put Los Pirata.
Yes.
And I was like, I had a brain fart. I'm like, wait, it wasn't called Los Pirata? He's like, no, it was actually called Pirates.
That's what it was to us. It's like when I did my shark shirt of Key Biscayne, yo le puse tiburón. Because that's what we called it. Nobody is tiburón.
Tiburón ahí del Aquarium.
When they say where you turn
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Cuando tú entrabas.
Before the causeway, yeah.
En el sicuario, como decía, el tiburón.
El tiburón.
When it was a great white. Now it's dolphins.
Yeah.
It used to be a great
Oh,
white.
it's a different fish now?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they put dolphins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Clearly I haven't been by there in a while.
It used to be a great
How long
white.
have
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Dolphins been there?
Oh, it's been years.
Oh, okay, so-
Probably.
Because
yeah.
that was one of those things that, like, I didn't go there for a while.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the Dolphins, I'm like, that's
You're like,
not what I remember.
wait a minute. Yeah,
Like,
no.
there's
It
something
was a
different.
great white, a tiger shark. It was like a big 20-foot tiger shark, man. That was all, like, it was so badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying Miami Seaquarium is one of those things that whatever one's opinion is on
Right.
it, it's sort of cool in the sense that it still feels retro.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, again,
It's frozen in time for sure.
whatever one's opinion is
100%.
on that. Just I'm talking about the structure, the
Right.
infrastructure. Because I went a few years ago for my son's field trip, and I hadn't been in years. And I was like, this has not changed. in
Not
like
one.
20 some years that I hadn't been there, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, they still have, I think, La Maquinita with, the little wax figure that you
were
could
just
smell
talking
it
about the other
cooking
day.
and all that, bro. That's like, I mean, that's childhood, regardless, like you say, what obviously now, what people are more aware of, but structurally and that, yeah, it is a historic place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they'll tear it down.
Where
soon.
do you see?
Yeah.
Because I feel that at this point, you are a brand.
Kinda,
It's
right?
sort of
Let's
like crazy.
embrace it.
And
It's
sort of-
crazy. I'm
sort of-
trying. It's crazy.
You're a brand, and like a good type of brand in the sense that, like, if you know type situation.
Oh, the whole thing. I've never advertised anything. It's all word of mouth.
So where do you see this going? Because there's such potential for this.
It's a great question, man. All I see is me in my lane doing my thing. And if there's a legitimate offer, I've always say, I'm not money driven, but money's nice. We need it. If you have a talent, you take it, you pay bills. It's beautiful. So it's like, if I've had people approach me about certain things, and it's like, I'm just kind of, they always say you're lucky in that you have your own style. And coming from other artists, when they tell you that, there's no higher compliment. Because you see a lot of the same 305 type stuff, and I get it. And I refuse to do any of that. And somehow we landed in that. And that's how you get noticed. So I'm just doing my thing, and come what may.
Part of your thing is your t-shirts.
Yes.
And for the, guys, just go to Miami Stadium for t-shirts. But I was actually going to ask you, like, because you have so many different, just iconic Miami ones, which one is the most popular?
The one I'm wearing, the Orange Bowl.
The Orange Bowl.
That
Okay.
is the number one. I'm blessed in that they all done well, and I sell out my little batch, whatever. But I cannot not bring this back.
That's a staple.
That's a staple. Even Atomic, we did the original orange, the tier one. That's the first one he ever did before the smiley, and he was like, "Oh yeah, give the people what they want. If they keep asking you for that," and I said, "All right, it's nice to make people
I
happy."
love how you have the houses.
Well, yeah, $10 no block, of
Yeah.
course.
No blocky.
I mean, that's
Yeah, and no look.
If only they would have gone with that design where it kept the Orange Bowl and then built the ballpark next door in front of it.
You remember that? Yeah, if only, or by the bay. I think the ballpark on the bay would
The
have been
ballpark
nice.
on the bay would have been amazing.
This is how I know you're separated at birth, because he always says that.
Yeah, they did renderings of it. Rolando did some renderings for Civica, and I think, but again, that makes sense. We kind of
We
go
don't like that, yeah.
the other, and it's cool. They got at least the frost is there, but it would have been cool to have that.
It would have
there,
been
man.
like San Francisco and even Pittsburgh that has it on the river.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah,
You know what? I think, I mean, it's your brand, but you know how they have TED Talks?
yeah.
You should have Abel Talks.
Coño.
You know why? Because this is something that people. I mean, this is why your page has been so successful. Your page is very nitty. It's very gritty. It's not glossy. It's not like
No,
high-
yeah,
It's
no.
curated without being curated.
Right? It's
Thank
not.
you. I
it's-
appreciate
you.
that.
You don't
Yeah.
go with these high def images. Your page is 100% real, and I think that the reason why it's been so successful is because there's so many people that crave this type of content.
Yeah, I think I always say you can tell, and I get why a lot of people lean the way they do, because there's money to be made, and go get it. But a lot of people tell me, I love your page. It feels real organic. It feels real authentic. You're not pandering. You're not trying to be like, somebody told me you're an influencer. Yo poco me escondo bajo la mesa. I'm like, I'm not trying to influence, no disrespect to anybody. Now, if I influence you to go research and find shit, that's cool.
We don't like that term either.
Yeah, I'm not a public, I'm a guy who schleps to work, who created this labor of love, who somehow, has become what it's become, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because it's a very Field of Dreams concept.
Totally. If you build it,
they will come. And you did something that people didn't know they needed, but now that they have it, they need it.
Yeah,
you
gave us a photo album.
I said I curated an online museum.
Photo album.
Yeah.
Like it's we didn't know we needed it. And now you really can never leave is what we're trying to say.
Oh,
it's gonna have to be there forever.
You're addicted. It's gonna have.
Yeah.
No, I have people that literally come up to me at Mary's Coin Laundry and they look at me con una cara and they're like, "Oh yeah, keep it going." Pero I go with I'm like, "Oh shit."
Is there like a limit time wise where you're like, well, I'm not gonna post anything past this year because it doesn't. It's just not nostalgic to you necessarily. Or how do you approach that element?
That's the beauty of it. Even I don't know half the time what I have a certain formula that I use, and I know certain events and certain things come up. So I'm like, all right, I got to drop something on that. And then in the middle, such and such died. Okay, I got to do something on this person. Or, okay, oh man, I haven't written about this in a while. So it's really just kind of, that's why I think it feels that way, because I'm just going with the flow of it.
So it could be 2000.
It could be, exactly.
Okay,
oh yeah, I've done stuff from 2000, 1995. That's history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is. Do you just, for your own personal reasons and also because of the page, do you just go around taking nowadays a lot of pictures?
I find myself more and more certain things that are either on the way out or that I think might be.
Right.
And it's like I'm a little more cognizant of that. So I'm like, sometimes I'll just pull over like the INS building. I was literally at the light. When I took that photo, why are you coming back from Steve's Pizza? In North Miami, the great Steve's and who I love. And I stopped, EIE, oh shit, click. And then I went to go see another buddy in downtown, and that's when I posted it. So it's just very...
Yeah, him and I were separated at first.
Yeah.
I was actually about to say, and I don't want you to get upset about this, but I think he may have more pictures than you. I don't want you to sabotage our guests. I don't want you to get upset, but I think he might. And you have a shit ton of pictures.
I'm sure. I know he has to have like a major stash of pictures.
I have pictures of the Bennigans in Kendall Drive.
Do you really?
Yeah, because that closed one day to the next.
Yes.
So that day I went and photographed it.
That's
I couldn't
awesome.
go in, but I photographed the whole thing. And then you remember it was the windows, the doors had windows. So I put the camera and you could see the bar perfectly. Because I was like, this shit is going down.
And now we're friends with somebody who worked there.
I did the same thing at the old, what became Mansion, which was Glam Slam, which was 1235, which was an old theater. I went recently, I was at the Deuce, and I start roaming, and I see a little light almost calling me, like a beacon, and I could see it, y con el teléfono, I put it right there in the little slot, and I got the lobby of what was Glam Slam and Mansion, all that, because
what is it now?
It got reborn as something else. Okay. I think they just reopened it as whatever it is.
What do you think is on like the endangered list?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think what's left. Even there's certain things in Overtown. Most of them are gone. I'm trying to think in the beach. I would think really there's certain one of the Deuville they got. That was hanging on and hanging on. And they finally got that one.
When you drive by there now, I mean, literally, it's a hole. It's sad.
Yeah,
you could really feel it.
Yeah, Tobacco Road was a loss. Oh, we still feel that one. And they didn't put anything there. They couldn't tear it down fast enough, and they left that little alley, and there it sits. So that's another one that,
Because Tobacco Road was what,
the oldest bar, no?
The oldest bar, the first bar?
It's right there. It was a bakery when it opened. It became a bar later. I'll tell you, I hope they never get their hands on the Deuce. That's technically probably the oldest bar in Miami, Club Deuce, 1926. Por ahí. That place is a gem, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are some places they've done really good jobs, like the DuPont building.
Yes.
The DuPont
nice
building.
That's the one that was a bank.
Yeah, and
that's such a cool building.
Yeah, it's a cool building.
The courthouse is going to be preserved. I mean, they don't know what they're going to do with it.
Right,
but
who knows? They got that new one.
Yeah, but that's not going to be touched. And the courthouse. I practiced law there for a few years,
nice.
And they have the Al Capone courtroom.
I've heard.
It's amazing.
That's cool, man.
It is amazing. It looks like a set of a movie. It's not really used.
Really?
I don't know if they still use it, but like your everyday motion calendar is not held there. And that building is incredible. They have mosaics in the lobby with like these Roman columns and marble floors. I mean, it really is amazing. It feels like something from New York, but it's very Miami.
Right,
it's,
but very Miami.
Very Miami. You know, it's now you said endangered. We're talking about endangered list. You know what to me has been in the endangered list for quite some time, and it's new, but it's something that was a really big part of my childhood. Is like International Mall.
Oh my God! Yes.
Well, yeah, all malls really now
all
are
malls
on the
really
But
crossroads.
now.
International Mall, because
Yeah.
Dolphin Mall, which is the behemoth, is there. Like, and that was
I'm surprised
such.
International's still there.
That was such a big part of me growing up.
Oh, that was a thing. Back in the day, going to International Mall was like, oye, like,
Pasaba cerrado.
Burdines.
yes.
Mira,
Yeah.
that was such a loss. Burdines.
oh man, big.
That was
big.
such a loss.
Another one.
Because, como dice mi mamá, Macy no es ni la chancleta de Burdines.
Mom knows best, boy. She knows.
That was such a huge loss. Because it was the Florida store. And now it's generic Macy's.
That's an epic coño. The Orange Bowl when it opens was Burdine Stadium.
Yeah.
Cuando eso nació was Roddy Burdine Stadium.
Yeah.
Where is Lauren Hutton shopping now?
Yeah,
No
right.
one knows.
No one knows.
And the location downtown, that was such a loss as well. It was Macy's, the one they closed a few years ago, because I was like, what is there now? What
That
is there?
officially closed?
Yeah, it's Macy's closed. It's a Ross, right?
Yeah, I think it's a Ross now.
Yeah, I haven't been inside since it's not Macy's, but it still looked the same.
Oh, okay, that's why I
as
was
Burdines.
confused. I thought like it had closed and like
No,
Yeah.
see,
Like,
the
closed, shuttered,
handles,
nothing is there.
The handles on the door still said
Yeah.
Burdines, painted
remember?
over.
Yeah.
but incredible. I'm so happy that you came here because, like, I mean, I could be picking your brain for about another 5 hours, but you know, I'm sure you have places to go. Like, it's just that I know I'm geeking out a bit, but it's not every day we get to have these conversations.
Yeah, no, really.
Because
It's cool.
you don't find a lot of people that have like these interests. I mean, they're out there, they follow your page.
Yeah.
But it's not it's hard to come across people that really have this passion that you have for the history of our city.
And further to that, you're not just a historian from afar. You lived it, so it's a different passion.
It hits different. I hear
Yeah.
that a lot. They
Yeah.
go, man, because you were there and you could tell me. I always say I try to go from Henry Flagler to Club Rolex and back. And people are like, oh, you've been to the Rolex. I'm like, Papo, I've had first plate at the cookout. Y'all have, all right? Like, y'all have no idea. Yo soy muy tranquilo, but I've lived. So it's like, I've lived. So I was like, I could bring you there and in the best, hopefully most responsible way possible. And the first Ultra, I worked it. I was at Specs Music. So I was there. We were on the beach. It was a one-day festival ahí en la playa, bro.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
típico.
sí, yeah.
Fanguero, yeah,
right?
with
Right.
the wind blowing the needles off the vinyl. I still remember this, bro. So it's like, it's kind of different when you could really take people there, that sauce. And obviously I wasn't there for 100 years, but it's cool that you can tie that
And now
together.
it's the largest one and most expensive music
Yes.
festival in the world.
It's incredible.
And
and we enjoyed it from the balcony of your high rise.
yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
That's a good one, Ultra, because like you were there.
Yeah.
that it started off.
Like whatever.
Literally,
Yeah.
they had no idea what they created. Russ, God bless him, Russ Favors, he had no idea, man. Him and Alex, what they did and what's still going is remarkable.
They're still involved.
Yes, Russ is. I remember Alex passed away. Russ is still there, and that thing's global, bro. That's like bucket list for people now, and shit's crazy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
You have to buy the whole weekend.
Yeah, the pass. Totally.
So anyway, tell us where we can find your t-shirts.
The shirts, you go through my page. The link is always in the bio. It's miamistadium.bigcartel.com. So stuff usually tends to be sold out, which is good. I'm always trying to circle the wagons and do another round. I have Miami Arena coming back, which I know a lot of people have been asking me. After the OB, that's really... So we'll get to that hopefully next month. So one by one, and we got some fresh gems cooking.
Have you posted? I don't recall if you have. Maybe you have. Anything? I mean, it's a little bit north of us.
Yeah.
About the Hollywood Sportatorium.
The Smokatorium.
Because that's infamous. I
AKA
never went there, but that is infamous.
Oh, yeah, they call it the Hollywood Snortatorium. The Snordo. No, yeah, I'll tell you. Here's a good Snordo story. I made it in for one show.
Oh, wow.
I was a jit. I was at Columbus High, and my friend says, we're going to go see Motley Crue.
Wow.
I was 15 years old, Papo. I'm like, where are you taking me? I'm about to get murdered, dog. Because it was that Pines Boulevard, whatever. That was one road up, one road back.
En aquel entonces, that
Oye,
was, I mean,
in
you
the
pack a lunch.
sticks. Exactly. Out in the sticks. It was a glorious shed. The sound was, it leaked. I think Robert Plant said the only show he canceled for rain inside of a building was at the Sporto. And we go there, y lo que estaba ahí, bro, that was an education. You walked out of there, that was like some Lord of the Flies type shit. And I remember there was a little opening band that had just came out, dropped an album called Guns N' Roses.
Wow.
So I saw Guns N' Roses open for Motley Crue at the Sportatorium, as we called it affectionately, in 1987, 88, right around there.
But this is why
Yes.
your page hits different.
So that was like Brink Appetite.
Oh, yeah, that was Appetite just dropped a few months prior. Yes, bro. Like they were literally ascending.
You know
on
what
the way
though?
up.
You know what's really remarkable about that?
Crazy.
Like, that story is your age, because
Yeah.
it's, well, you were 15, you said.
I was 15.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
were 15. I mean, you shouldn't have been there. You weren't supposed to be there.
Technically, yeah, a lot of people didn't know I was there. I'll leave it at that. And I knew some guys from Gables High. I used to hang out at the Gables Youth Center. So I was a Columbus kid, but I knew everybody. I knew guys at Miami
But
High. and
I've
everybody.
read so much about that place, and like,
Oh, yeah.
when you see the roster of people that played
Dude,
there,
incredible.
yeah, it's
I had a neighbor in Coral Gate. He was a fireman, and Ralph. And bless him, he saw Led Zeppelin there. He would tell me the stories of, oh, yeah, I saw Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. I saw Van Halen open for this and that. And, I'm like a kid, 12, 13 years old, and my head is just blowing. It was a place that a lot of people had those concert experiences in, and everybody played there because we didn't have the arena or anything like that existed yet.
nobody your age went to see Motley Crue and Guns N'
Oh, yeah,
Roses.
Motley
That
Crue,
was
for good
reason.
Nobody.
It was the only show, and then like a year later it closed, and then a few years later they demolished it.
Yeah.
So I made it in right at the end. I got lucky.
You got to experience the infamy of
The
that
infamy
place.
of the Hollywood Sportatorium.
Because
bro.
I
probably one of the two most infamous rock groups of the
Yeah.
time.
Yes, prime.
Yeah.
I mean, it was,
Yeah.
bro. It was a bit of a smoky show. It was, and the crowd was, the scene outside was like as crazy as the parking lot at the Sporto, and across there was like a little canal. It was insane, bro.
Yeah, and at that, you didn't realize that you were seeing
Yes.
history. You
No.
were seeing and living history.
No.
No one ever does.
A little band.
No
GNR,
one ever does
you know?
when they're living it.
Yeah, they had just dropped this album. They're both LA bands, and Motley was like one of the big things at that time. So you win, like, where are we going, bro? Like, I just remember being there, like, oh, yeah, like out in the middle, in the sticks. There was no place like that.
Now everything is fancy schmancy.
Yeah, corporate and nice, and
with your app that you have to
Yeah.
download to get your ticket. I miss ticket stubs.
you miss the paper tickets, don't you? Yeah, we like those.
We
I
like
still have
those.
some of mine.
We keep
do.
them in the tour books and
Yep.
inside the CD.
Yes, as it should be. Damn right.
If you're gonna pay me a service fee, I want something physical.
Oh,
damn
yeah,
it!
give me something physical. I know, man. It's terrible.
Oh yeah, it's been great. We need to have you back for like round 2.
Oh yeah,
Like-
anytime. Long overdue and anytime.
I told him, I'm like, this is like gonna be a mini.
It's gonna be a mini-series.
Like, the next one, we're actually just gonna get Billy Corben to film this, and then we.
Oh my god! You
we'll
know
just
what we
cut
should
it
totally
for
do?
like a week of
we should totally
episodes.
do. We should later in the year record like a series, so we could air it when we take our winter hiatus.
There you go. Hey, I've been, and it's funny you mentioned Billy. I refer to him as Sir William Cohen.
Sir William.
Sir William Cohen. I've known Bill for years. Oh yeah, that would be amazing. We'll get him in here.
You know, we've spoken to him and we talked to him about it in the podcast. He said something one time that really resonated with me in terms of, a lot of people say Billy Corben complains too much and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
But you know what, though? What he said is very true. He's like, when you care about something or some place, you're going to be that person to call it out. And I feel that when he said that, I'm like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
It's amazing. He says we had that very conversation. He'd never been to Mary's Coin, and he kept seeing. And I know it's like when your parents call you by your last name, and he hits me up. He's like Sanchez. I'm like, oh, so I'm sitting up, and he's like, that pan con bistec looks good, bro. And I'm like, oh yeah, that PCB, you haven't had it. So we ended up going there, and he had his first pan con bistec, and we had this very conversation.
Yeah.
Where I've heard it from people like, oh, this and that, and he expressed to me that very thing, and I'm like, I respect it.
Yeah.
Do what you got to do. You're a big boy. And you know, you're passionate about it.
You got to hold the people around you accountable because, like, you know, Miami means something to him. It means something to us. So, you know, sometimes it's a tough job calling people out.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, Oye, thank you so much. We got to talk about the mini-series.
We're going to figure this out.
We'll figure this out.
Miami Stadium, the mini-series. Coming this winter.
We'll do a little trailer and everything.
Okay, winter's right around the corner.
Yeah, right.
Winter is coming.
Estamos como Game of Thrones, yeah.
Our winter of blistering 70 degrees.
Yes.
That'll be us.
Oye, it's been amazing having you. Thank you.
Fellas,
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. I've been following you for years, so, you know, anything you need.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.